This is the Transylvania of Dracula, both real and imagined. While the blood-sucking vampire is pure fiction, it's based on the reputation of a man who's been dead for 500 years, but whose story is still told today. He became known as Vlad the Impaler because that was the punishment he meted out to his enemies. A punishment which astonished even his contemporaries and has assured him a place in history. He was the son of Vlad Dracul, from whom he inherited the nickname Dracula, literally, son of the devil. Count Dracula, of course, is a fictional character, immortalised in film, but created only 100 years ago by the novelist Bram Stoker. Stoker set his story in Transylvania, and the name Dracula has become a modern icon of evil. But the Count and his medieval namesake have little else in common. Brasov is the main city of Transylvania. Its old heart is a reminder that even in Vlad's day, it was a prosperous and important commercial centre. Brasov sits in the foothills of the Carpathians, just inside Transylvania, and it's about as far as most tourists venture. Being a ruler in the 15th century in these parts was about controlling trade as well as territory. So when the merchants of Brasov rebelled against Vlad's latest trading laws, he impaled 40 of them and set them up on the hills around the town, just to show that he could drive a hard bargain as well. All good bloodthirsty stuff, even by the brutal standards of the day. This reputation has helped blur the line between historical fact and fiction. Not far from Brasov sits Bran Castle. It looks like the sort of castle a vampire would live in. And for plenty of tourists, this is Dracula's castle. It's also the closest Transylvanian castle to the capital Bucharest, which helps explain its appeal. Never mind that the castle of the fictional Count was set on the other side of Transylvania, nor that this one didn't even belong to Vlad the Impaler, which is a pity, because both the tale of Count Dracula and the real story of Vlad deserve more than just a souvenir sweater. The literary license of a 19th century novelist is playing havoc with history. Bram Stoker never visited Transylvania. He just picked an exotic-sounding place on the map, combined it with his memory of the Swiss Alps, and threw in a dose of medieval horror just for good measure. But he succeeded in creating not only a monster, but an entire industry. Sighisoara is a town from the past, preserved like few others. A beautiful, crumbling, faded ruin, where once upon a time witch trials were a routine diversion. And it's the birthplace of the man whose deeds helped create a legend. The house where Vlad the Impaler was probably born is a restaurant now. The Transylvanian Society of Dracula is trying to separate fact from fiction.
We are after a correct perception of both the historical character, lending his name to the Bram Stoker's vampire count. We are after the understanding of the fascination of the Western world with Dracula.
Nicolae Patararu was to be my guide along the Dracula trail. Vlad the Impaler made his name resisting the expansion of the Ottoman Empire, but he was a minor prince in the whole scheme of things and often had to flee to the mountains for protection.
This particular place was in ruins when Vlad ordered disloyal nobility to, as a punishment, to carry the river stones 1,400 steps up the mountain and rebuild the fortress, which they did under the threat of his preferred execution, which was impalement.
By this time, the Turks already had a healthy respect for this most ruthless of enemies.
He offered his capital with the gates open, set afire and surrounded by a huge circle of impaled Turkish prisoners. So when the Sultan arrived and saw that sight, he said, he was quoted to say by his own historians, "Oh, what a great man."
The missing Count was probably where most sensible people would be in a place like this, in bed with a good book.
We are in Transylvania,
And Transylvania is not England. Our ways are not your ways, and there shall be to you many strange things. Nay, from what you told me of your experiences already, you know something of what strange things there may be.
Să adresez mulțumiri inițiatorilor și organizatorilor acestei mari manifestări populare din București, considerând aceasta ca o